Hi, we're on CSX Rules, January, the 2014 edition. Chapter 8, on the track worker qualifications, 800 prerequisite engineering employee qualification, 801 or seeking qualification engineering employee must have a valid driver's license appropriate to the vehicle to be operated, to attend the engineering department operating rule class and successfully complete all the requirements. 801 responsibility for the employee seeking qualification. Employee must be qualified in the physical characteristics of the territory. To become qualified, the employee must make two trips on 2 separate days with an employee who is qualified on the territory other than the territory with which the employee is to be qualified. In the qualifying on the complete the subdivision of the trip must over the complete subdivision of the qualifying of the portion of the subdivision of the trip must include a minimum of 4 control points. 801 2. When making a qualifying trip, the employee must, for the practices of the only, copy the movement authority on the prescribed form and the authority received and copied with the employee in charge of the document used to occupy the move. To observe the job briefing between the train dispatcher and the employee in charge. To reconduct job briefing during the trip. Demonstrate the ability to operate the on-track equipment through the trip, and in 5, observe the receive instruction from the employee charge on the physical characteristics. 801.3, the employee seeking the qualification must demonstrate the knowledge and ability of the following: 1. Basic operation of high rail equipment, on-track equipment. 2. Electronic requesting an authority for the long-term working limits. 3. Obtaining the authority for the dispatcher bulletin and 707 forms. Conduct a job briefing with the train dispatcher. 5. Placing signs. 6. Conduct a job briefing with the working group. 7. Comply with the rule operating with the governing of the operating switches on the control track. And 8. Managing the other using a long-term working limiting protection. 8. Clearing the trains and on-track equipment movement throughout the working limits. 801. 804. During the qualification trips, the employee must demonstrate the proficiency, knowledge of the timetable, and special instruction physical characteristics of the territory. Um, of the territory 802. Responsibility examining the employee. The examining employee must obtain the initial operating rules qualification form and territory qualification form before beginning the qualification trip. He or she must make all certain that the qualifying employee demonstrates the proficiency on electronic requesting any authority for long-term working limits and provide requesting the copying of any authority to the train dispatcher. 802.2. Examining the employee must verbally test the qualifying employee on his or her knowledge of the timetable method of the operation on the territory operating rules and on-track worker rules. 802. The 8023, during the qualification trip, the examining employee must permit the employee to operate the on-track equipment to record the employee's performance against the criteria contained on the initial operating rules and qualification form. 8024, during the qualification trip, the examining employee must confirm that the employee's ability to, 1, properly apply the operating and on-track worker rules, 2, communicate with the effective with the train dispatcher, 3, apply the understanding of the applicable rules procedure for the obtaining authorities, 4, conduct a job briefing team regarding the method of on-track safety and describe the sign placement requirements. 803. Responsibilities of supervisor. 803.1. On non-contract supervisors may determine if an employee is qualified in the territory. The manager must accompany the employee on the trip of the territory and supervise the employee's performance of the following. It defines specific methods of the operation for the territory, operating the movement authority for the train dispatcher of operating on the track equipment, demonstrating knowledge of the physical characteristics of the territory. 803.2. The engineering department and the manager qualified on the rules territory must verbally test the qualifying employee on the timetable, special instruction, physical characteristics for the desired territory. After the employee has successfully demonstrated the knowledge of the territory, proficiency, application of the appropriate operating on-track worker rules, and manager must complete with the territory qualification form, file it with the employee supervisor, and provide a copy to the employee. 8033. In the qualifying employee successfully completes all the requirements, the manager will complete with the initial operating rules and qualification form, entering the qualification into the appropriate computer system. 804. Qualification as an employee in charge. 804.1. Do not perform the services as an employee in charge unless all of the following conditions are met. Employee has attended with the engineering department operating rules class, successfully completed with all the requirements. Employee has been qualified as an employee in charge. Employee has completed a trip over the territory in the previous 36 months, and if the employee has not completed the trip over the territory in the previous 36 months, the employee must be requalified. 805. Short-term project procedures. 805.1. It is necessary to provide a short-term qualification for the employee in charge. The designated supervisor is responsible for 1. Qualifying the employee in charge on the required portion of the territory, entering the qualification of the employee in the appropriate system. 3. Remove the qualification from the project ends. 805.2. The employee in charge of the short-term project must qualify in the physical characteristics of the specific working location, including the minimum of 2 additional control points of the traffic work control non-signal territory, minimum of 2 additional miles on each side of the project limits. 2. CSX operates rules rules and on-track safety rules. 8053, the employee in charge responsible for the following contacting reasonable signal supervisor to retain the current timetable in the dispatcher bulletins for the territory, placing signs for establishing long-term working limits, and conducting a job briefing with the maintainer responsibility for the territory that includes the addressing physical characteristics of the territory. Chapter 9, Remote Control Operators.